Yes.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. So a thought occurred to me. We were talking about contraception and sort of our employers. I shouldn't. This socialist bent that I go on, where I kind of blame the corporate autocracy for everything that's wrong in this country. Sometimes rears its ugly head. And I don't necessarily mean that. I mean, it's without sort of organized business interests, we would have no innovation, we would have no progress, we would have really none of the creature comforts that we've come to rely on and enjoy, and no modernity. And I understand that. I do. Trust me, my capitalist friends, I get it. I promise I get it. But in this instance, it bugs the crap out of me because this seems like such this business of wanting to not have to pay for contraception seems like such a terrible business move.
Yeah.
It seems like something that a company that's, and I'm going to go back to my my business 101 class I took in law school, that a business exists for one purpose and one purpose only. It's to make profit for its owners and or shareholders.
Yes.
Nonprofits are a little bit different, but they're not really businesses. They're organizations.
They're organizations, but they're still trying to make money in some fashion.
Yeah, they're trying to generate revenue.
Mm-hmm.
In the classic sense, a business is an organization of people for the purpose of making profit for the folks that own it and or participate in it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the exception that the Hobby Lobby case carved out is for closely held corporations. We know that closely held corporations are corporations that don't have shareholders, that they're entirely owned by a family or an ownership organization or partners or whatever it happens to be, and they didn't touch on corporations that are publicly traded on the stock market, which should have a lot more obvious difficulty in justifying a religious exception to something that has a board of directors and thousands of shareholders that most likely don't agree. But for a company like a Hobby Lobby that is desperately interested in making profit, or Walmart, although Walmart has never jumped into this, as far as I know, that's desperately into making profit. I don't know if Walmart's closely held or not. I
believe so.
It is still, right? The Waltons, right? So they want profit. They want to make money. And a gigantic cost in any business is medical anything, such as pregnancy.
Yes.
Such as women taking time off work, such as paid family medical leave, which is something that all companies have to provide to some degree or another.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like paying for what amounts to be about a $5 to $7 prescription may be cheaper in the long run. I don't know. But what do you think about that?
Well, so and part of the problem, I think, is that this isn't being looked at as a business decision. Maybe it should be.
Right.
I would surmise that the owners of Hobby Lobby are probably not thinking about this as does this make good business sense? Because they probably don't really care. They're more concerned with whether or not they have to do something that they, as the owners, feel is wrong, or not. And who cares if it costs them money? And to a certain extent, that's respectable in a business. There is a growing attitude in many businesses right now that you should do things that are right and appropriate, even if it's going to make you a little bit less money than doing something that's fast or easy.
Okay.
So there is kind of that notion. This is a little different than that, though, because obviously they're doing something that they think is right, but is actually going to harm potentially a lot of their employees. And I would like to hope, but probably won't, actually harm their bottom line at the end of the day. Because as you said, that's a lot of money to expend on their employees having to take medical leave. The pregnancy costs are, I just looked this up, maybe $30,000, something like that.
Per pregnancy.
Yeah. And that would be, if you consider all of the doctor's visits that you have to have, all of the, I don't even know what you do. You should probably have asked a woman with kids to talk about this. I'm sorry. But all of the doctor's visits, the hospital stays, it increases all of the delivery charges. It increases, obviously, if you have any kind of problems, if you end up spending any time in the NICU, for instance. That's going to go. But as you start adding that up, just the medical costs alone for a pregnancy are quite a bit. And then you have the lost time at work. You have the disruption at work. The idea that, well, Susan's gone for 6 weeks and we got to find somebody to cover for her.
And we all know that if they have to go out and hire somebody, that it's an intense cost to bring that person in and train them, and could lead to turnover, and which is even worse for a company and with their employment costs. And so you're right. It from a business perspective, it makes absolutely no sense. They're looking at it once again, and we're sort of talking about that from this moral sense, except that. And I guess maybe this isn't the right kind of conversation to bring this up, but if one of our accepted notions of ethics and morality is a utilitarian notion that you don't want to hurt a lot of people with with something like this, you're not just hurting a lot of people, well, potentially hurting a lot of people or making life a lot more difficult for a lot of people, but you are ostensibly harming your own family, and that sort of thing seems to be just kind of silly, to think, for lack of a better word. I don't know what to think about it, except that it seems so completely counterproductive. But also, then why, if we're going to say that we don't trust women to make decisions, because that's what it sounds like to me. That we're not going to trust women to make decisions with their own bodies, because what we're going to do is prevent them from making one choice and place them at risk for another thing.
That's a decision they may not be ready for. Right.
That could have a lot of not just economic, but social, personal, and health costs to it. Then why let them? Then why hire women in the first place? If we're not going to trust women to be employees and work and be productive, then why hire them? That's the question. I mean, do you follow my line of logic there? Just you're taking choices away. You're trying to limit choice. Well, then you don't respect them as a thinking agent. Then, in my opinion.
Well, maybe Hobby Lobby doesn't. I mean that.
Oh, shots. Absolutely. I don't know. No,
sorry.
I don't think that's necessarily the case, but it taken to the extreme, that seems to be. That seems to me that whenever you are insistent on controlling an outcome that has nothing to do with you personally, then you fundamentally disrespect the participants in that particular outcome, I guess. But anyway, go ahead.
As another possibility, let me suggest, just based on what happened with the Planned Parenthood video and the immediate release of pretty damning legislation, let me suggest that perhaps there's a failure to properly analyze the situation and its possible outcomes in the beginning, and that's what's causing it. It's not out of any deliberate attempt to disabuse women of their rights or anything like that. It's instead just straight up failure to think.
Hey, generally in the contest between stupid and evil, stupid usually wins. But we're going to come right back after these messages from the Webcast One Live and Patrocious Associates sponsors. They help keep the lights on, and we certainly do appreciate all their support. This is Lefty with special friend of the show, guest Phaedra Strohmeyer. We will be right back to bring it on home. Thank you for sticking around. We certainly appreciate it.